marriage is like a miracle. Or at least that's what Haneda Ayaka claims, who works for a marriage agency. Her day goes by like any other, attending to a couple, until suddenly she's interrupted by another woman, a client of the agency who accuses her of stealing her fiancé. In the blink of an eye, the argument escalates, and the woman throws a glass of water in her face. Ayaka is left unsettled, soaked, and surprised, while the security guards step in to remove the woman from the premises. After this, Ayaka is summoned by her boss to the office. The young man is named Nita Togo, and he immediately notices that Ayaka's resume lists numerous jobs that lasted less than a month. She explains to him that this isn't because she's a bad employee. The problem is that due to her physical attractiveness, she causes trouble wherever she goes, such as, for example, causing a divorce out of jealousy at a supermarket. However, this time something different happens, and instead of firing her for the incident that just occurred, Togo proposes marriage to her. Yes, just like that, without any warning. But before we find out her answer, a flashback shows us part of this girl's past, specifically her high school days, where she was bullied for being more attractive than the other girls. Yes, I know it sounds silly, but that's how it was. At home, Ayaka is the youngest of 5 siblings and her family is quite humble, so since she was 15, she had to work to help support the household. After several layoffs, Ayaka went to the most popular marriage agency in the city, hoping her luck would change. Although she didn't do very well in the interview, Togo saw potential in her, and that's why he hired her. Back to the present with the boss's proposal, he explains himself a little better, claiming that love isn't necessary to get married and that he only wants to do it to free himself from the pressure of his wealthy family to marry a girl as soon as possible. You know, the usual. Without hesitation, Ayaka accepts and immediately takes him to meet her family. Although they live in a modest home, as I mentioned before, the girl's parents are quite affectionate and laugh good-naturedly at the businessman's proposal to marry their daughter. After all that, it's Togo who introduces Ayaka to his own parents. Here, a notable difference is apparent since they are the typical uptight rich people who believe that wealthy individuals should only associate with other millionaires. So Ayaka will have to work hard to change their minds. But as we get to know Togo a little better, we discover that he always had everything he wanted. He is an only child, so his parents treated him like a king, sending him to a prestigious university, having him practice horseback riding, and enjoying vacations in Italy. However, his biggest problem has always been his own insecurity. At one point, he even created an online program to find his dream girl, but it failed because he didn't like any of the participants. Since then, poor Togo has thought that maybe he just isn't cut out for love until he saw Ayaka for the first time and secretly fell in love with her, hiring her even though her interview was not good at all. And since the guy is a visionary, he just went ahead and married her. Shortly after, Togo meets up with his friends at a bar to celebrate his upcoming wedding, while Ayaka's parents prepare food for the celebration. And so, in the blink of an eye, the wedding day arrives for these lovebirds who still don't know each other very well. There, Ayaka's father walks his daughter down the aisle, and at that moment, the couple recites their wedding vows and share a kiss to seal their union, receiving applause from their family and friends. However, this joyful celebration is interrupted by the same woman who accused Ayaka of stealing her boyfriend at the beginning of the story. This time, the unhinged girl is armed with a knife. Despite this, Ayaka reacts quickly and manages to calm the girl down by giving her a hug while whispering in her ear that she will ruin the rest of her life if she hurts her. And here I was starting to think she was really sweet. In this way, the celebration ends pleasantly with the lovebirds gazing at the pool of the venue they rented for their wedding. After everyone leaves, the couple reveals their true selves, wiping their mouths after all those kisses they shared in front of everyone. It turns out that not only do they not love each other, they actually get along quite badly. But since their families rushed the whole wedding thing, they couldn't back out. Once the celebration is over, Ayaka and Togo return to their respective jobs and make it clear that they must remain professional and not show any affection in front of others. Even so, he gives her a beautiful and expensive wedding ring that makes her quite happy, even though she knows this relationship is a complete sham. And this relationship is so fake that they have to act like a loving couple every time the photographer hired by Togo's family is around, in addition to having to pretend to be in love on social media by creating skincare tutorial videos. And speaking of acting, I almost forgot to mention that Ayaka has to give an award-worthy performance in front of her mother-in-law, pretending to be a refined and elegant woman, which she is not. For his part, the photographer hired by Togo's family realizes that the relationship is fake, since in one of the tutorial videos they forgot to turn off the camera and it recorded how much they despise each other. A serious mistake. Fortunately for both of them, no one else has seen the video, although that doesn't stop the lovebirds from having yet another argument. But despite their differences, there are also occasional moments of tenderness between them, like when Ayaka falls asleep on Togo's shoulder and he takes her home, where he ends up chatting with the girl's parents, who suspect that something is off with their relationship since they don't act like a typical couple in love. However, he reassures them by confirming that he is very much in love with their daughter. And speaking of Togo's in-laws, shortly after, they renew their wedding vows, organizing a modest and charming celebration with their children. After this, the main couple moves into an apartment together, and Ayaka brings her little dog with her. Although this is a step in the right direction for their relationship, it's inevitable that differences arise between them, this time arguing over space in the refrigerator or the presence of the dog in the bedroom. However, there's an even more important argument. Togo's parents want to be grandparents and are pressuring him to have a child with Ayaka, an idea she doesn't like at all, since just imagining being intimate with Togo makes her feel quite uncomfortable. For his part, Togo has his own secrets. Even though he denies it, he's in love with another girl with short hair named Okada Sayo, whom he's known for several years thanks to his wealthy family. However, that girl doesn't return his feelings since she's already in a relationship with someone else and he's married. Since she's not stupid, Ayaka realizes this and lets Togo know that if he ever wants a divorce, she would understand, which leaves the young man deep in thought as he can't deny that he's considered it before. What's also true is that he's developed a certain affection for Ayaka, something he can't ignore, feeling that the more time he spends with her, the more he slowly falls in love. Later, Togo meets with Koji Akita, Sayo's current boyfriend, who is also his business partner, and Koji shyly confesses that he too is attracted to Sayo. However, now that he knows they are both engaged, he says he will set his feelings aside and respect their relationship. For now, he focuses on his relationship with Ayaka, kissing her affectionately for another of the videos scheduled by the photographer. A video that, by the way, quickly goes viral, making them the most popular couple of the moment. Or at least that's the case until a new character bursts into their lives. Kento Kamiyama, Ayaka's first love, affectionately nicknamed Kami. After that, we're quickly shown a flashback that takes us to the girl's past in high school, where she met Kami because they were in the same class. At that time, they became close friends. In fact, the kind of friends everyone thinks would make a great couple, except for themselves, since their shyness makes them avoid their own feelings. And now, in the present, this tense relationship between the two continues, since Kami, by a twist of fate, has started working for Togo's matchmaking agency, which leads to some rather awkward and romantic moments, like when he saves her from falling in a wedding hole. For his part, Togo, obviously, isn't very happy about all this, but he does his best to contain his jealousy, reaffirming that at the end of the day, he is still Ayaka's husband no matter what happens. And to mark his territory, he coldly says to Kami, "I'd like us to go out to dinner together with my wife," trying to be both cordial and possessive at the same time. This three-person dinner quickly becomes uncomfortable, as the childhood friends start talking among themselves and sharing gossip about their old classmates, making Togo feel like a third wheel. It seems his plan backfired. This infuriates Togo, who doesn't want to talk to Ayaka when they arrive at the apartment together, so he locks himself in his room and decides to ignore her. Shortly after, Togo himself admits his mistake for acting jealous, childish, and indifferent, so he tries to make up for it by talking with his wife and buying her sweets as a gift. Reluctantly, she eventually accepts his apology and allows him to cook a delicious dish to make up for his mistakes. After all, she knows that Togo has many positive qualities and that if she gives life some time, she might be surprised and end up genuinely falling in love with him now that they are already married. Meanwhile, Kami continues to openly flirt with Ayaka, specifically while preparing a haul for the wedding and talking about their romantic experiences. Next, we see our protagonist talking with her mother-in-law, and everything seems to be going quite well. However, since Togo knows his mother well, he suspects that something isn't really right. Because in the past, she has been very critical of all the girls he has dated, and it's not normal for her to treat Ayaka with such cordiality. The next day, our protagonist meets up with Kami to go shopping, while Togo is up to his old tricks again, spying on them with sunglasses to hide his identity. In this way, the pair of friends enters a handbag store while Togo follows them closely. After this, the businessman reflects alone, away from everyone, and realizes that he can't keep living his life being so insecure and unhappy, because part of love is trusting that the other person will respect the agreement they've made together to be happy, even if theirs started out as a lie, right? Anyway, after this, Togo has to deal with his parents' reproaches. It turns out he was right, and far from adoring Ayaka, both his mother and father question the girl behind his back and remind Togo that he needs to be careful with her, that she might be a gold digger desperate to take his money. And all this distressing pressure from his parents has poor Togo on the verge of a nervous breakdown. But luckily for him, Ayaka is there to comfort him. At that moment, he confesses something to the girl. His mother is not actually his biological mother, since he is the result of an extramarital affair his father had. However, in order to keep up appearances, they managed to take the child away from his father's mistress, and shortly after, this woman died from an illness. Since then, he has been raised by his parents, but he has always sadly wondered what his life would have been like if he had known his biological mother. After this, Ayaka gives him a strong hug and reminds him that she is now also part of his family, one that she chose thanks to the relentless twists of fate. However, despite this, Togo says some harsh words to Ayaka. "We are not a real married couple. This is only a one-year marriage contract." And this statement leaves our girl quite down and changes the dynamic between them. Ayaka feels hurt and belittled when all she wanted was to offer genuine support. Since she considers Kami her close friend, Ayaka tells him what happened, and he encourages her to resolve things by talking. Because when relationship problems are ignored, they end up being more serious than when they started. Guys, take note. For his part, Togo arrogantly tells Kami not to meddle in his marriage, claiming that both he and Ayaka are fine and don't need anyone interfering in their lives. Later, our protagonist goes to the hospital because her father has suffered from appendicitis and needs emergency surgery. Fortunately, the situation isn't that serious, and Togo assures her that her father-in-law will receive the best care at a private clinic. And on top of that, the young man prepares lunch for his father-in-law when he is discharged from the clinic, together with Ayaka's whole family. With all this, Togo realizes that he owes Ayaka an apology for the way he treated her a few days ago. He also reminds her that despite their feelings, since they are married, they are a family, and it is their duty to take care of each other. Even so, he suggests ending the marriage contract if she feels that their relationship is not going in the right direction. Above all, he tells her that he wants their relationship to be more than just a contract, since during this time he has learned to genuinely fall in love with her. This moves Ayaka, who understandably agrees for them to become a real couple and for their relationship to be something more than just a marriage contract. However, a new problem arises the next day as Kami calls Ayaka to meet and, without hesitation, kisses her on the lips, leaving her bewildered. She quickly pulls away while he tells her that he has been in love with her since he met her in high school. As a result, Ayaka starts acting evasively with Togo since she's afraid of how he will react if he finds out about the kiss. Togo, who is not naive, realizes that Ayaka is avoiding him, so he decides to confront her to ask what she's hiding from him. However, she remains silent. Shortly after, the couple has to film a new video for their social media, celebrating that they've reached 1 million followers. And after that, they go on a romantic date, and very seriously, Togo asks her if everything is okay, since he has noticed her evasive behavior lately. At that moment, she finally decides to confess the truth. Kami kissed her on the lips a few days ago, and she didn't know how to tell him for fear that he would get angry. Later, Ayaka speaks honestly with Kami, assuring him that although she cares about him a lot, she doesn't see him in a romantic way, and asks him to respect the fact that she is married. Very good, just as it should be. He smiles with an apparently harmless smile, but when he's alone, it's clear that he feels very upset and is resentful. For his part, Togo is happy that his girl has cleared things up and responds affectionately to it. After that, a shocking revelation comes to light. Kami was hired by Togo's mother to break up our couple, and we see him lamenting to the woman for having failed in his mission. However, she tells him that she will give him more chances to carry out his task. This is how he plans his next move. He gets our Ayaka drunk at a wedding organized by the company. After that, he offers to take her home, but instead, he takes her to his apartment. The next morning, the girl wakes up wearing little clothing in Kami's house, and he shamelessly tells her that they got drunk and had a night of passion. It's clear that this is a lie, but it's enough to cause panic in Ayaka, who feels very scared because Togo isn't answering her calls, imagining that he's disappointed in her. Finally, the couple ends up talking and she apologizes, promising that nothing happened between her and Kami. For his part, Togo also apologizes for having been evasive, admitting that once again he let his jealousy and insecurities get the better of him. After this, he promises that from now on he will trust her, as long as she makes sure to set boundaries with Kami so that he doesn't interfere in their lives anymore. However, this is exactly what Kami does the next day, visiting the couple to assure them that he and Ayaka slept together on the wedding day. This infuriates Togo so much that he's about to hit him, but Ayaka separates them. This situation turns out to be a real test for our protagonists, because even though Togo wants to believe his wife, his insecurities get the better of him again. Meanwhile, we see that Kami is acting for money, since Togo's mother promised him a large sum if he manages to break up our couple, money that will help him save his father's business from bankruptcy. Meanwhile, our Togo makes a radical decision and resigns as president of the marriage agency. He has even already found his replacement. This leaves Ayaka quite sad, so she decides to confront him about this decision. He responds that he thinks it's the best for both of them since he'll be working at another branch and they won't have to see each other at work. For her part, Ayaka reveals the truth about her marriage to her parents, stating that it began as a contract that would benefit them both and not as a union born out of love. Now, although she does feel genuine affection for Togo, she fears that the situation with Kami may have ruined their relationship forever. Meanwhile, Togo talks with his mother, whom he calls cruel. It turns out that she found out about his plan to separate him from Ayaka, and she is not at all happy about it. The next morning, he calls his wife and asks her to come home so they can work things out, saying they still have videos to record, since he has discovered the truth about the Kami situation. And speaking of the devil, Kami apologizes to Ayaka for having interfered in her marriage, assuring her that she only did it out of desperation because she needed to get money quickly. After learning the whole truth, Ayaka confronts her mother-in-law for having done something so low to separate her from Togo. However, she coldly ignores her, saying she only did what she thought was best for her son. At the end of this story, Kami also apologizes to Togo for all the trouble she caused in his relationship. She also warns him that he should watch out for his mother since she will surely try another new plan to separate him from his wife. And that turns out to be quite true, because not long after, our leading man's mother posts the couple's marriage contract on social media, revealing that their union is temporary for 1 year and that it began solely as a mutually beneficial arrangement. Quickly, the news spreads all over the internet, causing a stir among those who supported this seemingly perfect couple, accusing them of being liars just to gain more followers. In this way, they have no choice but to make a video apologizing to their followers, assuring them that although their relationship did indeed start out of mutual interest, over time they have genuinely fallen in love. Later, Togo confronts his mother again, telling her that no matter how hard she tries, she won't succeed in separating him from his beloved because throughout all this time, they've learned that their companionship prevails in the face of adversity. And this is how we reach the end of this story, with our couple walking down the aisle, ready to take part in a real wedding they couldn't celebrate at the beginning of their relationship. Now things are very different since there is no ulterior motive and only the love and mutual respect that have brought them to this point. From now on, nothing and no one will be able to break this beautiful promise. Now if you don't choose another video, will Kami think she still has a chance?